Hey folks, welcome to MSP Mountain. And today we have Nick Ward, who works with me in Support Adventure. How's it going, Nick?
I'm great. Can't complain. Lovely sunny day here in Brazil.
Yeah, sunny day actually here in Serbia for the end of February here. Spring has arrived, and I'm very excited. You know, if I wasn't doing this, I'd be out riding my bike right now. Before we get to
Okay.
documentation, we'll get
Sorry,
there, but
going
let's
back to the
talk a little bit
dispatcher.
more. Yeah, dispatch.
So
I
as I
mean,
said,
why should companies have a dispatch? So you've got five techs in a MSP. Why should your sixth hire be a dispatcher rather than another tech? You know?
okay, it takes a load off the techs answering the phones, right? I mean, it depends. You might have a service coordinator answering the phone, which is not ideal, but get the dispatcher in, they can answer the phones, triage the ticket,
Well,
and then
dispatch and service
assign it.
coordinator are kind of the same thing in my head, in
I
my own
mean,
words.
yeah, it is. But some people use like a service coordinator for other things, right? Not
Yeah,
just
okay.
dispatching. But
Yeah, to shield the
take
techs from sort of curate the tickets that the techs are getting, right? Rather
yeah,
than having random techs answering
random phone
random
calls.
tickets, answering random tickets from random clients about random tickets at random times. It's just that's random and
Hmm.
that's chaos. And then they have to track down the person who the can actually help the person, or like a dispatcher handling all of the inbound communications and then looking at the system as a whole and who's
Yeah,
available, who can help this, rather than a ring group that gets 50 calls a day spread across five
exactly.
technicians, picking up random stuff. It's a game up. It's just like if you go to a fine restaurant, there's a hostess who seats you, and then there's a waitress bringing you some drinks, and then you've got the chefs in the kitchen. Whereas most MSPs are still sort of running their shop like you've got a restaurant with a row of five chefs, and you just walk up to a random chef and say, "Cook me a beefsteak now."
Yeah,
That would never work in the restaurant industry, and
no.
nor would it work in the aviation industry if like there were planes on an airport tarmac and you just walked up to a pilot and say, "Hey, I want to go to Cincinnati." Like, nope. And I think the other thing is, if most MSPs were an airline, most MSP owners would not want to fly on their own airline, because
Yeah,
they'd know how little organization there is to make sure that you have a smooth flight. So yeah, so
exactly.
dispatch is a game changer, because I mean, there's so many other analogies we can use, like a hospital where you walk into the hospital and go into a room where a doctor is examining a patient and say, "Hey, doctor, I've got this rash," and
Yeah.
distracting them from the other patient and all that
And
stuff.
it works when there's a small village, right? And one
Yeah.
person comes in a day,
Hmm.
right? But when
Yeah.
you go to a big city, there's 100,000, well, 10 million people
Yeah.
with
So
20,000 coming.
yeah, getting your
Well,
business past that stage is like, it's a great task to
yeah,
have done as a business owner, to have gotten to the point where you've hired other people,
yeah.
and they're also doing a reasonably good job. Your clients are happy, you get more clients, but then over five technicians, that's just not tenable as a system of organization. You're going to start getting complaints, you're going to start getting balls dropped, unless you have somebody who's in the seat of dispatcher, who's consistently looking at every single case from a process-oriented
Yeah,
standpoint.
exactly.
Yeah, so
So
it's like,
yeah, so some other things the dispatcher will do is make sure that engineers, if they can't fix a problem, right? What do I do with this ticket? How do I have to pass it to this person? No, give it to the dispatcher. The dispatcher will dispatch it again
yeah,
to a person who can do it,
escalation
right?
management. Like,
Exactly.
someone can't
Another
solve it.
process.
Like, yeah, we always think that the best way to escalate, like the best one that I've seen, is the level one tech, 30 minutes, they can't solve it. And then they reach out on the open channel that everybody can see, and they ask, "Hey, anybody know the password for this router? I can't find it. I needed to unblock this port." And if they
Hmm.
don't get an answer in another 15 minutes, then they unassign themselves, assign it to someone else, and it moves on, because you don't want people to have stuff on their plate that they can't eat, you know?
Yeah,
You want to distribute, because yeah, you're keeping them from getting that low hanging fruit that they can, those tickets they can
they
close.
can eat. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, those
you
tickets
know.
that they can close are essentially um, they're being distracted from that by the ones that are like these weird little problems that, maybe some senior tech didn't do the documentation, as is often the case, and they can't solve it. So they should get that off their plate, and it should be the responsibility of, rather than them to track down that tech who didn't solve it, the dispatcher to do that. And then you have a centralized system, and then all the techs know the dispatcher. When the dispatcher writes to you, you listen to them, and then you as the service desk manager say, if you guys don't listen to dispatch when they contact you, then you're going to have a meeting with me and I'm going to tell you why dispatch is so important. But if you just have text going to random other text for different stuff, you're going to get one tech will say, no, I don't know, go to Jimmy, he knows. And then Jimmy says, yeah, I'm busy right now, and you don't get the answers. But though this is how we get senior techs looking down on lower techs. It's like, oh, look at that stupid question. Yes. It's like, well, you know what? You were once less experienced than you are.
Yeah.
And you actually haven't done a great job at documenting this matter so that the junior techs can solve it. So that's why you're getting an escalation. And also we like to see in the dispatch process a reverse escalation, so that when a senior tech does solve a ticket in the post-ticket closure analysis, is this something, assuming the senior tech leaves some decent notes, is this something that the initial ticket holder, the person who took the first steps but couldn't solve it, is this something that we can feed back down to them so that next time maybe they're more in the loop? Should the documentation be updated to include this as a knowledge base article, or was there a piece of technical data missing? And a dispatcher would be also the one to manage that. So it's a game changer for MSPs that actually want to run a well-oiled machine rather than a bunch of people sitting in a room together, which is what a lot of MSPs were before 2020. And in the case that you were sitting in the room together, then it's like, hey, John's on the line. Do you know the password to the printer in the accounts department? And then you would get that answer. But now it's a completely different thing. But we've been prepared for this reality for years at Support Adventure because we've been working remotely. So, and we've seen the faults in all of these communication styles that are, using chat for escalations, using basically emails as escalation, and having
we've seen everything, right?
An escalation path, which is, and we've seen it from the perspective of the way things are going to be for a long time, which is techs sitting at their computers at home, which is what I always preferred, to be honest. No, I didn't like on-site. No, I didn't like sitting in the office with other people. It's just, I'll get on a call when I need to, call client, get on a video call with anybody, no problem. But otherwise, I like to be left alone to do my work without interruption. And that's another reason why you should have a dispatcher, because if you're listening to the phone ring, you pick it up and you're already working on tickets. So having technicians answer the phone works really great if you've got a bunch of technicians sitting around doing nothing. Right? But I'm guessing most MSP, have you ever seen an MSP where they like to have a bunch of techs sitting around doing nothing? I haven't.
Waiting for the call, no.
The only one was my first remote gig in 2013, where it was an MSP that was going down, and I was like, okay, give me 800 euros a month and I will work 15 hours a week on your help desk. And then I was really sitting around slow cooking stews, and I got like 2 or 3 calls a day. Then I gave great service, like immediate best attention to the people, and they loved it. But unfortunately, the way most businesses are structured, most MSP owners do not want to overstaff to the point where they have someone sitting doing nothing or something unimportant when all of the calls come in. Therefore, having a dispatcher to shield and figure out who's doing what and who's able to divert for something important and what's not important and can be called back later, that's key. So I think that's enough about dispatch. I've got another video I made about this. Let's get on to a little bit more about documentation, because this is the other big pain point. Because if you are a tech who's given tickets and you don't have the information to do your job,